Now, you can call them up by name. No, that was bad. Oh, we're starting now. I got the attention so easy the first time. So this is the delightful effect of coffee. All right, so now we're going to talk about the cult policy and code. This is going to be exciting. Sean and Tommy, right?
I want to talk about that. Actually, I don't think we can. Why not just talk about either one?
We can make it an hour. I don't know. I've heard so much about it. I assumed it was going to take long. So if it's simple, that's great. And then we'll move on to the next subject. And we'll just keep going.
Okay. Actually, I think I'll do something else. And when I read the code, I was thinking whether it's the best time in class to rewrite or reorganize our system. Because we have some problems with our places. At least in the several reasons on the internet. You can take a look. And also, I heard that the latest one keeps hoping to add the support of the segregation rate in the code. So maybe we can take steps after the merge of that feature to end the feature most.
So for those that don't know, the policy and code effort is it's an actual goal that's being pursued, and kind of the same idea of well, someone learns how we have big options in the code that if you're just going with the default, you don't necessarily need it in Cinder.com. So it'll be the same thing for the policy file. If you're fine with all the default policies, you don't need to have a policy file. Or if there is something you want to change, you only need those things that you're changing. So it makes it a little bit easier for deployments of not having this gigantic policy file with tons of things in there that no one knows.
Yes, go on.
It's a goal from the PT, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So eventually all projects are going to implement this.
What kind of things are like that? Yeah, you said there are some things that we need to change in order to do this.
Yes. There are two parts. The first part is moving our place. That's a quick plan, right? We can do that. And the second thing we are going to do is fill the quality control. That's all. And then it's control the time on quick, so I can do that.
Discussing it here.
But only that part. And the second one is
It would be good for those of us which don't know, like explain at least the changes you're saying that they see or whatever, like what you think what is going to be. Yeah, a summary or overview of what's what, so it will be probably easier later to
Is there a patch that shows an example of what changes need to be made? Moving the policies, so just it's kind of educational so everyone knows what does this look like, what do we need to do in order to have a policy code. So people know when they need to make this change, when they need to add any policy, how do they do that? Like,
I already submitted several patches.
oh, okay. Can you send the link? Yeah, can you drop the link?
add it. That's the first thing I would like to-
Or the 1,000 line change.
That's true.
Can we get this list to several branches, different API?
Something like this.
I already did that. There are 3 patches.
3,100.
Well, the problem is,
Because,
well,
you can't partially do.
yeah, the problem is, to his point, you can't flip over to using alternate code.
Like a feature bridge.
Yeah. Do we still, we've never actually done one.
We've never done.
We have, the feedback I've heard from people that have, it's usually more pain than work.
I started looking at it, but I didn't understand it. And
Yeah, I was in the same boat, I'm like,
I think I got drunk halfway. But what were you mentioned that you thought maybe this wasn't the right time to do it, issues that you called out.
Okay. I have 2 points here. The first point is that we have the goal to implement the policy code. That's the goal of the PTG. Is that right? That's the first point. And the second point is, I think it's a good timing for us to rewrite or reorganize our existing policies. Because our existing policies is a little chaos. We apply the policies at the different layers. Some policies apply in the base layer, and some policies applied in the API. And then we also have different granularity for different resources. We have different policies for our CRUD, and for some resources we have only one policy for the CRUD operations. So that is related to revamping or reorganizing the policies.
So I think doing all of this at once probably makes more sense. So fixing the existing policy stuff.
I mean, we can have this features in 2 steps. One step is just moving the policies into code. That's the goal of the print. And the second step is just to rewrite our existing policies. Because land structure system is proposing the feature of support deprecation policies. And we can use that to rewrite the features.
yeah, I was talking to the Keystone guys, and it said, don't mix actual policy changes with the changes in the policy. Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, that would be a recipe for new confusion. Sorry. So, but like the CRUD operations, like this and stuff like that, those are all consolidated in one thing. I mean, do we really need to have a different policy for every resource and how it behaves to this?
Well, if someone wants to create a role that can list everything, but can't modify anything, how would you do that? Well, you want to give them get access on every single.
No, you're not understanding what I'm saying. So the point that he's talking about, I believe, is the fact that we use the same,
Policies for different operations.
right, yeah. So it's not a matter of like changing the granularity of what they can do with the resources and stuff like that. Okay. It's a matter of combining who gets to see what out of the list, for example, whether the volume, the snapshot, backup, whatever. Anyway, maybe it doesn't matter.
We can always get more fine grained.
Well, now that you've been working on doing some of the fine grain policy changes, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd actually like to see them in code, but
I guess my point is, I'm trying to figure out, so like, what are you looking for in terms of fine grained policy changes? Because that could be a really bad idea in the long run, depending on what you're talking about.
what do you mean, John?
Well, the point I'm asking, what are you defining as a finer grained policy? So what's an example?
So, add, create, or both separate policies as well as update?
To which resources?
To whatever, any resource. So in general, any resource, like let's look at volume create, start there.
Okay.
If you're creating a volume, closing a volume, et cetera, you know, that's one policy. Updating is a separate policy. Deleting is a separate policy. So that you can have fine grained control over who can operate. So that's the quick example. It really all depends on what in the API, what it does.
I suppose that's fine, but I've had this argument before, especially about things like create and delete when it comes to the volume and cinder. If you're gonna put policy and say that you have to be an admin to create a volume, then what's the freaking point, right? And the same thing holds true for saying only an admin can delete volumes. It seems kind of counterintuitive for what we're trying to do.
In the most case, what we do is we create an identity deploy. If somebody can deploy.
You have a storage admin that can use a cinder to survey tickets and create,
So that's what I think other people are doing. So this allows some flexibility. Only having admin to do stuff, I don't think makes sense at all.
Yeah, but it is storage admin. I mean, basically,
Next thing with this is, even if we introduce a lot more regular policies in the code, it's there, no one cares about it, so what?
Yeah, and that would probably solve most of my problems with it.
Any questions on the actual goal piece of this?
So, I mean, I'm looking at this patch, and how does this work from a high level?
Very well.
And what's the definition of what
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Just from a high level.
So you're able to split it up into 3 patches?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they dependent, or are they independent?
They are independent.
Okay.
No, maybe I depend on the catch.
Okay.
What does each of the 3 do?
Yes.
We just have a different API change.
Sorry.
We just change it with different API. So this one is only related to the volume API.
Okay, so you didn't break up, so it's not switching everything over immediately?
Yeah.
Snapshot metadata, snapshot action, backup.
I think it's pretty good to get batches by one API. One patch for one API, yeah.
Well, it's kind of, I mean,
Easier for review and easier for you to get your way, make your way.
I mean, if you look at the patches, it's not, I mean, like, you could take a couple of these out, but most of it is all volume. I mean, those services in there, volume are in there, so yeah, let's split those out.
It's a lot of lines, but I don't think.
The other one is almost all group.
I mean, it's just the same stuff over and over and over.
Yeah.
I don't think why actually the part name is a consistent block of change. Can you put them on the text there? I think there. The other 2 pages. Okay.
Oh, okay. So then these other files that you add actually have the default policies in them. Then, is that what that is, Tom? Looks like.
What's the question?
Okay, so these new policy files now or contain what the actual default policy is. And so all the other changes are just to make use. Okay, so then you import snapshots as snap policy. And then set that in the context. Okay. Beer is missing.
Removal of the,
Yeah, did you have to remove the old policy check?
Yes.
Okay. So it introduces the new policies in the code, it adds the checking for the new policies, and it removes the old policy check.
right, probably I'm trying to find the removal of the old policy.
Really also know how to detect, that's why I just remind those 20, I will remove them.
Okay. So get them moved over first and then deprecate them. And then, so are you the ones? Good. Yeah. I'm just wondering if we should, when you add them, to add them deprecate. But yeah, but we should be able to still get that follow-on action that's released, so probably better keeping this, just getting the policy and code, and then focusing on deprecating and changing later.
Yes.
So what are we deprecating? What are we deprecating?
Some of the older policies, I think you explained this to me once, there's some other policies.
It's more or less renaming the policy.
Yeah.
About the name, most of the cases is about the name.
Okay, so.
And that is the deprecation.
Got to deprecate the name, use the new name.
So you're gonna update these to deal with that, to address Matthew's comment, is that what you're talking about? So Matthew pointed out back in August, that you're not only moving the policy in the code, but you're also renaming it.
Yeah.
Renaming it is a problem, he's correct.
Yeah, the name should be the same.
Right.
I mean, so for the first step, I think the point is, first just move what we have. Don't try and fix anything, don't try to rename anything, just move what we have into code. Which is pointed out here, you're not actually, there's a couple of spots where that's not actually. So you're gonna update these patches so that they're not changing anything? Yes, of course. Okay, perfect. So if you do that and submit those, I'll sign up to view and test. So,
Great.
Has Manila started on the policy now?
Yeah, that's it.
Any experience that you've had with it so far?
It's going to
Okay.
I don't know if this has been discussed before, but once we do this, it opens the door to future enhancements, like one of the discussions I'm going to have, I will be around showing screen capability. Once Cinder has all the policies and code, you can imagine some features like adding an API that's not, what can I do?
Yeah.
Cinder can tell you. Right now, it's, just try and fail.
Yeah. Yeah, you can actually discover what you can do, and not just based on a microversion, but what am I actually allowed to do? And
This isn't necessary, but not sufficient. To get that one.
is there more of this that more questions or concerns from anyone on this?
So when I'm looking at the patch for the patch you referenced there, and I see that you say that in some code that will be later removed when everything is merged. Yeah. So we're going to have 3 big patches and then another 3 big to remove the if else condition. Wouldn't it be just, I mean,
Just put them in now.
yeah, everything in one batch, even if it's huge, instead of having 6. The if else you put will be removed as soon as the 3 batches merge.
So why don't
And
you just
half the code changes are basically the if else, right? I mean, if you were to make just one patch without having to include if else's. Oh, it's only the if else is only one place, yeah. So,
yeah, it's not all of them.
yeah.
But even still, so I think if you make all of these a dependency chain, so that so when it's done and merged, it's done and merged and we flip it on, right? I think that would be ideal, and not have to come back again. The other thing is I think it's kind of critical that we try and finish this and review it and get it merged like as soon as we can. Since it's early in the cycle, it's a really good time.
So I'd like to update those packages as well as part of the
Okay, cool.
Now, does this affect the format of the policy file in the case that people do want to change policies?
Policy file goes away.
Well, it goes away, but if you don't want the default.
Oh,
So my question was, if you don't want the default, is the format in a policy file the same?
This will actually generate, kind of like how we generate a sample cinder.conf file.
Yep.
It'll generate a sample policy file. Okay. I think it's the same format as the policy.
in the format of the new file.
Yeah.
oh, it is.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I think it is different. But there'll be a sample there that will show if you want to override this default, drop this file in with this, whatever format.
And what technically the user is great. And you get a new file,
Right, that's what we talked about in Barcelona, that stalled it at that point, was how do we, if they've already customized their policy file, what's the upgrade look like?
Yeah, I'm assuming that this change should consider exactly the same process as before, as the user changes something there, we just get and override the default behavior.
When you were talking to Lance, did he say anything about how upgrades are handled?
I guess we don't need to upgrade those copy files from the format. Accessible YAML and just.
Okay, so it'll still read the old.
Yes.
Okay, good.
I think there's a section on that in the spec.
But I assume they'll upgrade, if we change the names of some of these policies, then we have to upgrade that.
It's another set with a petition. So the whole point of this, though, is there is no. Let me figure it out. I mean, look, so the point is, if we're just generating another policy file, automating it, just because do it.
We're generating a sample
Yeah,
file,
sample.
but it doesn't need to actually be deployed anywhere.
I mean, it was that policy, right? If you read the spec, the idea is to get away from having things in the head seed project flash. Not really.
If you're fine with all the defaults, then yeah, you can get rid of the file.
For some reason, I thought that earlier talk on this, I thought that you actually use an API call to actually modify calls.
That may be a follow-on thing.
I didn't get that impression.
Well, it's obviously not the case, so it doesn't matter.
They're not meant to be stored in the database.
Yeah.
Very first line, policy file will remove deployments that don't modify default policies, configuration out of this project. As long as you're using the defaults. Otherwise,
All right, anything more on that?
No.
Okay, so the action items I have is we don't want to, or we agree that we don't want to mix our policy issues with move to using default policies in code. We don't want to mix those changes in. We're just gonna take a like for like move right now. And the patches should be a dependency chain. They're all going together. Okay. All right. And Tommy, you're going to get those updated soon, and we'll work on reviewing them and getting them in sooner rather than later.
sure.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Thank you, and thank you for setting up that effort. Appreciate it. So, all right. So, nice job. We're an hour and 10 minutes ahead of schedule. Efficiency is good. So, Ildiko,
Well,
will be attached, fix all our problems.
I'm just reading some recent comments on the, enabling the new attached flow window, and I'm getting confused whether we will ever get to the for that matter. But, what I wanted to just raise that we kind of agreed, I think, a half year ago and a year ago too, and a couple of times on when we hopefully get to solving the multi-attached case, we still have problems with detaching the volume on the cinder side with the shared connection case and like drivers without the amber. I know now counting the number of attachments. We only have one, then we remove the target, but I'm not 100% sure whether it's fully solving our problems and that's just one driver out of the 100, or I don't know how many we have now. And I just thought to raise this issue and kind of searching for feedback on whether or not we are willing to talk about this, or just let's see how the session goes tomorrow with Nova and then talk about it, or everyone collectively just shooting the head before you can ask the question, or what should we do beyond that. So that would be my question. Whether or not I'm paranoid, or it's really an issue that we are finally willing to deal with, and how to solve that for 100 drivers and not just one. Because it's not the problem on the normal side, by the end of the day, we have a problem on the side.
Does anybody here, spend any time in the new attach code?
So I was just gonna ask, would it be useful to do a quick refresher on what things are happening? Like what's landed, what's in play, what's ready to go?
I think you're going to do that tomorrow. I think I saw that on the Cinder session list.
That was on the list.
So yeah, we could definitely do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Was hoping there's like some interested enough multi-attach and stuff that we have already.
And try it once and it worked fine, but then you change something else, you went to the multi-step, the attachment product. And I noticed, the thing I noticed is that it's not ready for the active stuff, because you're directly sending the request to the host. You don't need to click.
Okay, cool, I might need your help on that. So, yeah, unfortunately, due to requirements on the Nova side, some of it has changed back into the multi-step type of thing. Which is unfortunate.
But those requirements are based on Nova requirements, or Cinder could have worked the other way.
Cinder works fine, you know.
Yeah, because I tried it and it looked really nice. And a lot better, but.
I loved it, it was awesome. Attachment create, attachment delete.
You don't.
Right. I've actually been trying to consider if there's a way to have a flag to enable it to work that way still. And you kind of can. So right now, when you do an attachment create, you can provide a connector, and if you provide a connector, it will go ahead and work the old way. Okay. So you don't have to do the attachment updating. So that's pretty nice. The completion thing, yeah.
What was the case on the Nova side again, where they realized they needed that?
Nova does some interesting things, particularly with cases like shelf and resize and migration of instances, where they don't actually detach or remove the volume. They call a terminate connection and remove the SCSI connection without changing the status of the volume. And then they call initialize connection under the covers to get new connection info. So they're willing to handle and manage those types of things on their side, but nothing.
Don't they call initialize connection to establish a new connection before they break down the old one though? On your detail.
Sure, in some cases, yeah. What was that?
Okay. We're trying to line migration, definitely during line migration. In the shelf, nothing would be connected for a while.
Anyway, it almost makes sense to just give Nova its own API, and the rest of the world is something more sensible.
Do we know anything about the rest of the world?
I know quite a bit.
And how, I mean, anyway, so then how others are using it.
So on the, so on some of the standalone stuff, I'm writing the code to use it, so I can pick how it works. So.
And what about
So
the
until
rest of
somebody,
the world?
so until somebody else wants to change it, well, the rest of the world will get what I write.
Okay. Fine then, we're all set.
So the concern now that you're raising the open code is that we need the actual driver maintainers to take a look at how this is working and make sure that the way, well, do we have the multi-attached piece of this?
It's literally like 5 or 6 lines of code that I need to change.
And the point is that when we are getting to the point of the drivers, it's a layer under.
Yeah.
Under what we did with the new attach code. That's why I'm raising the issue like of every single, even where we are talking about this, because that's not solved.
Yeah.
That's why I told that we fixed one thing with LVM, because with LVM we faced the issue with just the regular attach case. We didn't even need multi-attach for that. that the target just got removed because we have one exported target and that's it, and now we're using it slightly differently with the new tool than with the old one, therefore we solved the problem, but that's just LVM, and the only thing that we are doing is counting the attachments and removing the target when we only have one left, and we are removing that one as well. But even that doesn't really give any hint to Nova or any other consumer, for that matter, on what's going on in the background and whether or not the connection can be removed from the host or not. And, you know, that's the two-side thing. We are doing something on the back end and we are doing something on the host. And both sides have to be aware of what's going on. And we don't do anything about that today, anywhere, according to my knowledge, but maybe I'm behind.
Do you have any kind of CRI from Touch?
No, not yet, because
We don't run it.
no, it's completely disabled right now. We just can create multi-edit forums right now because it's not a capability that's available for this particular reason.
So if you put it hard to why Touch from vendors without CRI?
So in terms of requirements from vendors, so what I asked before and was just for input and feedback on what we might need to do to handle reconnection. Because I can guess and make some assumptions, but if they're wrong, I don't want to have to go back and write a bunch of patches or, God forbid, do a microversion file. It may work.
Make sure you use a constant.
Yeah. So my plan was, this was all done. So much for that. My plan was to add a default capability that says multi-attach enabled false that everybody would inherit. And then for the very few drivers that I know work, like line and LVM and things like that, I would add that flag to true, and they would work, and the rest of you can figure it out. That was my plan. But I would really like, I mean, first of all, I'd like input from folks to see, you know, how we need to handle it on their side, so that we don't have to change the picture. The other thing is I'd also like people to look at it because they may have better ideas on how to do this than what I did.
My concern is that the driver maintainers don't know what they need to be looking at or thinking about.
So maybe tomorrow will help after we walk through it.
I wonder, yeah, sketch up some like, sequence diagrams.
Dude, give me a whiteboard and a marker.
Just sort of a quick picture, okay, this happens and then this needs to happen on drivers.
Do you want to do that now or do you want to do it tomorrow?
We can do it tomorrow, but I don't think everyone has an understanding or mental model of how things.
Yeah, that's
Well, part of the problem too is like the last year it's changed so many times. Like I have no idea how it's actually implemented right now. Like
it actually hasn't changed that much. So the Nova code has changed a lot. The Cinder code has been pretty static.
well, the thing is the Nova code is super important for what you guys are talking about with detached thing, right? Because they're the ones who are gonna screw stuff.
Well, they're gonna screw it up only if we tell them to run.
Maybe. So
I mean, really, so for those who don't know, or remember, it maybe it changed or whatever. But my initial idea was that on the detached call, that a call would go all the way down to the driver, and the driver would have the opportunity to say, hey, this is a shared connection, and there are N number of volumes still using it. So that was the plan, but then there were some concerns about some oddities in what Brick does, and the fact that Brick isn't very smart.
right.
So,
we can't have the driver tell Nova whether it's shared or not.
you can, but it doesn't necessarily tell Nova whether it's shared on that post or not.
Yeah.
So then Brick may go and just rip it out from underneath anyway. I don't understand, looking at the code, I can't quite figure out how we're dealing with that today, though.
No, that's part of the. So here's the
Well,
thing.
this isn't my problem.
I
I don't. okay, like, but, you know, if we're gonna fix it, you're right, but they should fix it, right?
Well, and I mean, I don't know who was there when I said this before, and I know this is frustrating for you, Billico, but when you go through the user survey, what do people want? Multi-attach, 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 multi-attach. I mean, it was the only thing that was obviously a request from our users is to get.
If we should put a thing on the user survey, if they wanna to buy a solid fire, I will give them multi-attach packaging. So, no, I completely agree. But to be fair, it's not like I just punted and said, oh, you got it, well, this is what I'm doing, it's done. I asked them for input and help along this entire thing.
I agree.
So, I just want to make sure, because I got the impression you were feeling like I was just saying, oh, screw you guys.
You did love, but minutes ago.
But that's,
why I
yeah,
said,
that's.
But we didn't really do that much with that layer anyway, because it's not finished. We have all the last bits missing. It's not like we screwed up something already. We haven't finished it, and we just, in my opinion, have no idea how to finish it yet.
Right, so we should work on that. I think the way to do it is we need something that easily describes what's happened, like how it works.
So
that
I've been under the assumption that the driver has that knowledge, but maybe that's incorrect.
I don't know that they would.
Yeah, I think that's good. The driver not always should have that assumption, because the driver would need to, for each request that it would receive, to ask or to inform that that driver has a new connection. It would have to store them in a database, and the driver doesn't have access to that database. And not all stores have the knowledge of how many holes are assessing a target.
So, one of the things that's changed now, and one of the reasons why I did the attachments resource specifically like I did, is you actually do have that access. So now the driver can go and pull attachments that are associated with that host, right? And that also, that resource now includes the host that it's connected. So you actually do have that information. I tried to write code in the manager that just filtered through that stuff and dealt with it, but I was like, I don't know how all these different drivers work. So I can't make just a general assumption and say, oh, well, okay, if it's shared connections, and if it has more than one volume attached on that host, then leave it and don't terminate. I was like, I don't think that's right, because some drivers, that's not necessarily how it works, because they might have a one number. So they have a different connection, and they have to terminate that, right?
It's more complicated than that, because you throw in live migration, you have to get multi-attach on one side, you might not have multi-attach on the other. And you don't want to detach, you don't want to terminate the connection of the volume if you've got other VMs still using that volume, the source. So it's more complicated.
Well, that's actually, that's a different, that's a completely entirely different problem than what I'm talking about on this other side, but sure.
So John, is your design that the sender is responsible for knowing when it needs to actually do detach on the host, or and know that has no responsibility?
But no one
That's
has that
something we were talking about,
responsibility. It's just, so both sides need to know how to deal with the thing. Like, even if you don't terminate the connection on the host, if the target gets removed, you're screwed. All the remaining attachments are screwed.
That wasn't the design back, but,
Okay, still.
I don't think it can. Like, to your point, what you said.
Well, nor can you do the checks on what moving is attached to where. We only need to know what the behavior of the driver is in that sense. We don't return any information to know about right now. That would just give an hint from anything. Right? Because list of attachments, let's say, that doesn't matter without knowing the behavior of the driver.
So I'm thinking about the long-standing involvement with the NFS family of drivers, how we know they deal with that, which is just one giant amount for all of them, right? So the challenge there is, on the first one, you attach the form amount, and then the second, and the third, and the fourth, you don't have to do anything. It's already mounted, you just go read the file. And we could never figure out when is the right time to unmount, so we just didn't do it, right? We just leave the file, we just leave the mount plan. They forever. That's how it is. So, I think it would be great to be able to fix that. And it occurs to me that if Nova had some sort of a rep count, so it knew how many times it did going from that route point, Nova would be able to say, okay, I detached the last one, now it's really safe to do that on that. But
I don't know if you remember in North Carolina, when we had the cross project. That was the first.
We already don't have lots of problems. But I'm trying to understand if the mechanism that you're talking about now can also get the same benefit, because if Cinder knows how many attachments there are from any given host, it could tell Nova when that number gets down to 0.
And that's exactly the post.
I kind of like it. I think that the question is, are there edge cases where the answer is wrong? Sure.
Yeah, we were talking about locking things.
Not that, I'm talking about like.
No, I'm just saying that when we get to this, this topic in agenda, we were talking about locks, because if you're just, trying to detach.
Yeah, I mean, there's all the synchronization problems, which are horrible, but I'm thinking, in the absence of those, are there pockets of problems where 2 different hosts appear to be the same from Cinder's perspective, or one host appears to be 2 different hosts from Cinder's perspective? Are there any situations where Cinder can't tell that a certain Nova host is one and the same?
So I think this is where, we'll walk through it, but this is where I need to input from you guys. So for like a standard I-70 target, whether it's target admin or I can tell that information based on the initiator IQ or
the back end has your API.
Cinder has that. Oh, Cinder has the tools and the resources to build that information. So it is possible to do. It is a ref counter of sorts. That's exactly right. That's exactly how it starts. The idea was, or the problem, the challenge was just to figure out, okay, how do I know what this ref count should be based on that, depending on the back end, right? Because I look at it and say, well, there's 2 attachments to 1 host. That should be a ref count of 2. That may or may not be true for your back end, depending on how it works. I don't know.
Do you have an example in case it's not true?
I said it may or may not be true. If I had an example, I would say it's not true. Right? but that's the first thing. The other thing is,
for everyone that I can think of, it is true.
okay.
I'm trying to imagine the situation.
I mean, and that makes it fairly easy. I mean, I do still think that it's better to leave that level of detail and intelligence up to a driver. I think the driver should help. I don't think I should arbitrarily.
It's uglier when you combine multi-attached and multi-path. It's heavily multi-path.
Yeah. I mean, like, for each attachment to a line, do both paths. So you might have 5
to 8 initiators,
but it's one attachment.
Yeah, treat it as a single method.
One entity.
So what we care about is the attachment record in the database, not what the host actually did.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
That was the idea.
And that's, luckily, we do that abstract. Otherwise, it'd be like,
And you have to start.
but I think, like, from the Cinder side of things, functionally, like, what we have should handle all these cases. Because the thing with the flag, telling whether or not it's safe to detach or not, we made some assumptions based on, like, is the volume detached? How many have, like, the volume have? Like, last time I looked at it,
So we're already kind of doing that.
we're close, but it's like a lot of it hinges on really
greatly on how it's being used by Nova and, or whatever client it is. So like that concerns me for two reasons, which is that like means that our API is kind of like a little bit dangerous, right? Like you have to put the onus on clients to know how this stuff needs to work. It might work 90% of the time, and then you might corrupt it wrong. And the other thing is like the Nova code, if it doesn't get implemented correctly, which back to the conversation earlier of it has problems, it never was implemented to handle all of these edge cases, right? So like I kind of suspect that we'll end up with other edge cases, things like that. So I don't like it's what I'm proposing is we should make sure that we like document this stuff and like there's clearly not all the driver maintainers here, right? It's one to get like a pretty good subset of them that actually know this stuff works. We then just start like enabling like and stuff and pretty good with that.
And we also enable this for driver, right? I mean, like, whether one has you're able to create a mobile that.
I think that's kind of what,
Like, I mean, yeah.
that's what you're saying is don't actually have the flag for the.
Yeah, just flip it on. Great. Yeah. Because I don't know how else to really, we can make nice docs, but then our driver, page for that perhaps, but like, it's probably going to be broken a little bit. Like, we're interesting to like minimize growth.
Can anybody think of any reasons why you shouldn't have multi-attach be a standard API?
It seems like an opt-out sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, so as you've heard from me 1,000 times, right? Like, my opinion is that if we have an API for something, we should do it. Period. And that includes multi-attach.
One of the things with DRVD is we can attach to multiple hosts and number of hosts, but once you mount the block device, it's locked. You can't do it. So we can do it in a way, but maybe it's not a way that you can expect. I guess that's the case where it's possible.
Hold on. So once it's mounted, it's locked. What does that mean?
You can't. So once you mount it, it's essentially read-only on everything else. It's essentially, it's not available for any IO, any other, like even though it is available in a way, available be, like the DRVD whatever is available on the host, so if you try to mount it, mount something else, for example, or if you try to do IO on it, IO is fail.
Okay.
So you can't make it available, but
yeah.
But it's something else.
You can make it available.
Not really. Well, there's no other coordination that needs to be done except for, like, as soon as the thing unmounts, as soon as anything else unmounts this, then it's fine to use.
Is that a client side limitation or a server side limitation? Like, if a different host also tried to attach to that device, would it be denied?
Yeah.
Yeah, so DRVD actually.
Yeah.
You can't have two different hosts talking to the same block device.
You can, under certain circumstances, but you need something that coordinates the right. If we don't.
In a clustered file system.
In a clustered file system or a hypervisor.
That's true for all. Well,
that's a big assumption, multi.
But the difference, no, so it turns out a lot of people are gonna use this without a custom file. But that's, yeah, that's not our. But the difference is DRVD, if I understand correctly. And I think I talked to Flip about this. They actually put some safety mechanisms to let you not kill yourself. And that is to put a lock around the resource once it's mounted, so that somebody else doesn't try to do it unless they have a cost. Or some other,
I mean, could the user turn the safety off? They know what to do.
Oh, they don't have to know what they're doing. They can just, yeah.
they obviously don't know what they're doing.
Right. So, but I mean, I can see it's possible that if you have clients, they don't need any, you can attach it to multiple clients, and they don't need any form of coordination other than I put it away when I'm done with it. Like I say, use case for that in a way, but
So, in yours might be, it depends, so there's a bunch of different use cases on the multi-attach stuff. There are some folks that wanna do reads while somebody else does read-write access. There are other people that wanna do things like a hot swappable standby type of thing, which is also kind of how the Nova live migration stuff works. So, I mean, it might be fine. I think we have to figure out, again, we have to document some use cases and expectations.
We can figure it out fully for LEM and test in the CI, whatever, and then any other driver. Oh.
But it's not so much the driver implementation, a lot of subtleties, like however the actual like back end does the targeting, whatever magic they're doing to get over. And on the initiator, like whatever the Linux subsystem is, the driver can only show a lot of pieces.
This is unfortunately what it's going to do is these are the use cases, just like it did for applications. This is the use case, and everybody's going to go up and well, it doesn't do this, and it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, it's not supposed to.
Yeah. If we could take a hard stance on that, like it's not an open discussion, here's a list of stuff, here's what I solve it. But like, I think for me, kind of like, I guess the point that I was trying to make mostly, we can have this in their API, it's really nice, but it's like how you super critical. It's not like creatable. We make a nice API, creatable. This stuff like, it's a really high level orchestration thing, it has to be correct.
It's like policy.
Yeah. So like, just beyond that, right? Like we're putting some stuff in the code to like help with that, and some stuff that tries to like force it to like not break things. But like, there's no amount of that.
Not with all the drivers we have.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just we gotta find like the right amount of full tooling that lets people do that.
it seems like multi-attach is gonna mean in things, in drivers.
Thank you.
But yeah, even if we take multi-attach away from it, just regular attach. If we get that to work correctly, all these two can happen. I think we're there. We're almost there.
10 years of wait time.
Yeah. Almost there. openstack-cinder.
I don't know how many people are around, but so this topic initially came up in Grizzly in Portland, Oregon, like 4 years ago. I was going to say 5 years ago. I never imagined that attach should be the hardest thing.
We're really good at creating deleting volumes and snapshots.
That's the most important thing, right? You have the volume, but you can't actually use it. You get mad. Yeah. What time is the talk tomorrow?
I don't know what time. Can't be in the morning because I won't. What? I don't need to send. I can't. Because it's not working.
Were you not in the discussion of what day was good?
I didn't say I won't be here tomorrow. I won't be here from 8 to 9:30.
Oh, okay.
They're supposed to start like at 9-ish, and we have the temporal storage or like.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna reorganize the schedule here. So you'll be here at like 9:30, 9:45?
Better make it 10.
I think it's hard. Maybe 10. Do yourself a favor.
Dear John.
And if we have time today, if you guys want to do a walkthrough today, that's absolutely fine too.
We were talking about the Cindanova cross project, beautiful, lovely, not brain killing session, so we need a lot of people.
Would it make sense though to like get all
Yeah,
the stories straight?
kind of what I'm thinking.
Go in there in a unified front, because it was us going there to start taking apart the things from our side too.
Yeah.
That's why I brought up the topic, I just didn't really have the expectation.
So what time do we meet with the Nova guys?
9. What? Morning session, you know, we're in the past like 4 weeks. All right.
Yeah, I brought it up.
I know it's not really anything that much.
So yeah, if you want to go through it now or block out some time that.
They have a huge fight.
We can do it in the afternoon, I mean, let's get through the topics that we have, like, more rational and finishing early as you did with the previous ones and keep this one as no messy.
We circle back, meet at the bar.
That's a good idea.
I'm people don't have the whiteboard.
You're in a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Favorite thing. So is that what we're doing this afternoon? Everybody, anyone? Does anybody even care?
I
If it's just like 3 or 4 of us, we can do it.
I care deeply, John.
Because the
You
people
like
that
us
don't care.
after the other topics for today, finish the ones who are interested and have opinions and solution ideas. Get together and get this done-ish.
All right, so, sounds like I need to take, all right, so do we, let me take a step back here. Do you feel like you have what you need, Ildigo, yet to go into, bless you, Jeff, to go into tomorrow feeling moderately more prepared?
Well, we can see the aspect, I guess.
Also,
Okay, so we're gonna, no, I'm reorganizing the schedule so that
Yeah, I'm all good.
all right,
We will see how, yeah.
okay, so we will talk about it more this afternoon. And we'll see how things progress this afternoon, and we'll go from there. We'll get to our other topics. The only other thing this afternoon that I wanted to maybe add on, but we could do this tomorrow or some other time, is the doc team would like to come in and talk through the install guide stuff with us, but they're pretty open whenever, on that. So, we have 30, huh? Yes, we have 35 minutes. So looking at what we had for discussion this afternoon, so I had some time blocked off just for the team here to talk about discussion. Does anybody have any questions? So the first section here is just, does anybody have any questions about the changes that have happened in Pike and what we need to do in Queens right now for documentation?
You said discussion. Okay, documentation, got it.
Documentation. Does anybody have questions about the changes we made with the migration or what we need to be do in going forward?
What do we need to do going forward?
Thanks, Dan. All right, so I will give, I don't want to bore people. Are people at least interested in this?
Everybody
Okay.
should be interested in whether they are or not.
Everybody should be interested, yes. So let me get to a place here where I can show what we have done. And when everybody watches, I can type the same one. So now all of the documentation that used to be out under OpenStack manuals has been migrated to the docs directory under Cinder doc.
That readme not right anymore, is it?
Parts of it are. This is, yeah, no, this is right. Because this is now our documentation for the latest development goes to Open.
Just not state developer documentation.
Oh, yes, good point. All right, I'll fix that. But so all of our documentation is under Cinder latest. So if you push up a patch and it merges, it's available out on the web shortly after that under the latest directory.
Does that include the config reference manual? Or
Yes.
everything now, any documentation about Cinder is now under Cinder?
Correct. And
So some of that content is not version, but some of it is doing, like, so API, okay, that's not linked out of that, developer docs, for instance.
so,
Version that.
so here's the thing then is, when we cut a release, it then creates a versioned release. Like when we cut Pike, there is the Pike version of the software now that has the generated API docs for Pike and all the content there as it was when we cut Pike. And if you make any changes that are really important in the latest in head, we need to backport those documentation changes just like we would backport anything else. So in general, we probably shouldn't be backporting a lot of documentation stuff, but if there's something that we find that's just blatantly wrong, yeah, we should take some time to propose a backport.
Do we publish like a big version of there's different master version of that?
It will be,
That doesn't make any, I mean, for some docs, it makes, like, the API docs be different, like,
right.
master, developer docs should not be different.
They should not be different, but we do freeze on that point because that's the branch that they're in when they were developed.
I mean, important point that if you fix something and it is old,
Right.
you'll be misleading stuff, right?
I mean,
Someone does end up with that. Because you're not going to backward developer docs.
well, he's saying maybe you do, but.
Maybe you do, if it's something significant that it also was wrong back in Pike, yeah, then you would backport it.
Why not just publish master, for some of the docs where there's no point in having stable versions, just. Master version.
Yeah, whenever we talk to the docs, and that unstable branches of those docs for certain types of docs, that it just redirects the current or the latest.
Good. Yeah. So.
I don't see it as a critical issue, because if someone's looking at Okada.
Well, and
They kind of missed the boat.
yeah, and during the last couple of days, in the doc team meetings I was sitting in, part of the discussion was around, okay, how do we better indicate to users that you're not looking at the latest documentation? You know, and flagging to them, especially because there are people who are now wanting us to keep even older archived versions around, and that we need to flag to people if you're on an old version of the documentation here. And how about you look at the new stuff? Haven't upgraded your cloud? Would you like to?
A lot of operators are stuck, and they are highly annoyed that we blow away old documentation.
Yeah, so operator docs clearly need stable version.
Right.
Things, there are some that are not targeted,
Yeah.
like dev stuff.
Actually, a whole other thing, now that the docs are in the treaty,
Yeah.
that's when we end up like stable branch, that's not good.
Right now, they go away. Well, and then, before we went to open stack manuals, they went away as well. So we've got operators that have gone through all kinds of extracting the fireballs and trying to rebuild documentation.
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's still a tag that you
Yeah,
can check out and build.
yeah. But from what I heard,
It's not trivial.
yeah.
They published something.
Yeah, so the idea is, I think, what you're saying, that there's a document, rather than blowing them away when you get rid of those branches.
Right.
Just, they're out there static. The main concern about that is around, Mataka, there was a JavaScript library that we were using in our doc that had a security, thing. So now, okay, if we keep these around,
Do we need that description?
probably not, but we do. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's very good.
Kind of related to that is, I think I sent out information about updating release notes on stable branches. In case people didn't see that, Reno works a little differently. Where if we want to update a URL or, fix a typo in an older release note, if we do that like a normal backport and fix it in master and then carry it, make it back, the way Reno scans release notes, it'll show up in Queen's release notes as a new release. Right?
Oh, wow. Oh, that's
So probably, especially cores, we need to, if someone is trying to fix something in an older release note, we gotta know. Only in that case, they need to submit the patch directly on the stable branch and not into current. Yeah, Doug's gonna look into Reno and see if there's a smarter way that we can handle that, but as it is right now, it causes weird funky things where you see things show up, at least not that shouldn't be there.
So treat docs as code. So.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
Yeah. It was really confusing because I kept seeing things, like, how do I this here?
Yeah.
And track it down.
Thanks for that reminder, I forgot about that one. So, all right, so I have an action item to follow up with the doc team about having some of the top level links just for like the developer documentation, always just point to latest. Are there other things that we want? So we've got, well, so the contributor, I think the contributor developer, no, because then we start getting into the APIs and stuff under the contributor section. So that needs to be versioned.
It's all API microversion information for developers, right? And then all that API microversion stuff should be in the latest.
Oh, because they wouldn't code against anything the latest.
The only value I see there is maybe the information you have for the development environment, but it's like broken after.
Why is there a list of microversions in the computer?
Probably we didn't have a good place to put it before. Should be, well, actually, that should be under API rest. That's a separate section. So when I do the work to do the constant for the microversion, I'll look at being able to use things to generate documentation and have that stuck under API.
It was put there because it needed to be in the tree, that was the only document.
Yeah, because we didn't have any anywhere else. Good point.
Okay, so you will, Sean will look at moving the microversion information to the API graph.
Yeah.
When doing constants work. We got to put it somewhere.
Yeah, I'll return.
Okay, well, and then there's the section, oh, but the microversions, how to, we would still leave there. We just don't need the list of microversions. You're testing, adding methods, drivers, like the rest, how to contribute documentation. So I added this in for those of you who are looking to get started helping with documentation. We have documentation on how to contribute documentation. And then there are links under here to the stuff that Doug Hellman put together that's really good. I may pull in some notes from the stuff that I learned from him in sessions yesterday. Architecture. So all of this stuff in our API reference looks okay. Is the line, and man pages are listed drivers. Obviously, the config reference will be versioned, or will be per release. So, and the list of drivers. So is it really just pretty much this contributor developer docs that needs to not be updated, I think, or that can be always pointing the latest? That's what it seems like. Okay.
And API def is not part of this. The API def, like what you were showing was the documentation.
Right.
That's already there, like docs change and stuff.
Right.
But the API def is also on version. But it is.
Okay.
And but it's not even part of this whole doc.
Okay. Yeah, I need to actually figure out where the link to that is at. So, okay. So that's what we have out there. And so the don't like this display. All right. So anyway, all of this is built out of the docs directory. And then obviously it's organized by, we're getting this to read. Oh, okay. So it's under the source directory. And then, so you've got, you know, the admin section, CLI, stuff where there's common things like tables and figures, or configuration reference, the contributor guide, install man reference, and all of these, and user, all of these were set by the documentation team so that the high level web pages know where to look in a project to get to that directory, so they need to have an index file under each. So like at our high level, obviously, we've got the index RST here. And then, under each of these, there's an index file that's then used by the website at the high level to get down to our documentation. And by default, it goes to latest, unless you choose a release like Python, that'll go down to the Python branch for that documentation. So from a review and coding standpoint, it's expected now that if you touch anything that has, if you would have put a doc impact on the commit, don't put doc impact anymore. Instead, if you want to just include your documentation change with the patch. So it's expected that, you know, if you change config options, that you're going to have a change that goes with it under configuration for your driver. You need to do a tox-e docs and pep8 to build the code for your, to make sure that the docs build, and Sphinx is pretty touchy. We've got to treat warnings as errors now turned on, so you will get a -1 from Jenkins if you don't do that. Fix it before you push your code up. And that includes if you change doc strings in functions out there, because those all get built as well. And I will admit that the doc builds are kind of funky. If you've done a previous doc build and then a bunch of stuff changes in your tree between that and when you try to do the next build, it will sometimes throw completely irrelevant errors. You can try cleaning out like the which one is it? Contributor/API directory, which has all the auto-generated stuff in it. That sometimes fixes it up. If you're not sure, otherwise, ping me and I can try to walk you through it, since I've seen a delightfully wide variety of failures. When you do your build, it ends up going under doc build, and then there's an HTML directory under there, and then there's a full copy of the code out there that goes with, or full copy of the build Cinder documentation that you can look at out there. And then anytime you have a code review that touches documentation, the best way to review that aspect of it is the first Jenkins review will be the Ubuntu Xenial docs link, and if you click on that, it takes you to a built copy of the documentation for that review. So I usually keep one review open or one window open for my need, and I open a new window with the HTML in it, and go make sure it looks like it rendered properly. And if it didn't render properly, should probably, I mean, I've been -1ing for that, because then that eventually goes out to the website. Looks yucky. I think we've got all the stuff that looks yucky for Cinder fixed out there for the most part. If you're tooling around your documentation and you find something broken, please fix it.
No.
Okay, Walt. And ironically, he was one of the first ones reviewing the patches. But any questions about that? Anybody want to know more about it?
So you said the docs take whatever changes they make to make things obvious to the consumer. They're looking at the version, the doc and not. So they're really transparent to the problem.
We've got a huge list of to-dos that we talked through this week to make it clearer as far as what release the documentation is looking at. Also, they're working on weighting search results so that people are more likely to find the new documentation, because for a long time, you always ended up at like Juno, no matter what. So they're working on doing that so that people are most likely to get either N-1 or the development branch when they do a Google search. So they're trying to improve that aspect of things. Also, they're looking at making some of the landing pages a little bit less busy, so it's easier to find content for the different projects. So, you know, they're a smaller team, but they're trying to now utilize the fact that they can focus really on what the top level looks like, while the rest of us are working on improving our lower level content. That brought up another thought. What was it that I had? There were some people who had asked on CIs, on their CI patch against changes that only covered documentation. Obviously not. I know some people have started filtering if it only touches the docs directory, that they don't run CI, and I don't have a problem with that. That's fine.
There's actually a list of infra job configs of the things that you can skip.
Okay.
In that regard, and I would like to see that. We constantly see like CI failures on unit test matches.
Yeah. Oh, that was one of the other interesting things I actually wanted to take a look at. Infra is keeping a list of what 404 errors they get on a regular basis, and you can narrow it down by project. And so I was going to try to go find that list and start putting in some like redirect links to appropriate content for Cinder things that people are trying to go to and getting 404s for because of old content or whatever. So that's one of the to-dos I have. So if there's nothing more specific on that one, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the doc builds. So right now, documentation is not the normal part of the build. By default, when you run Tox, Pepe, what have you. I had proposed at one point that we would possibly add it to one of our default Tox jobs, but it didn't sound like people were interested in that. Building the docs to make sure that doesn't fail.
Rather than having a separate doc job?
Well, like,
Just if you run Tox with the arts.
yeah.
Oh, having it as one of the default environments.
Right, yes.
Why would we want to do that?
Well, I mean, I guess it would reduce number of times people push up patches that have touched doc strings that cause the build to fail and not realize it, but I suppose also they don't know that they've touched, if they're not gonna remember to run their doc job before they put it up and it fails, well, it's their problem.
And they're like, yeah, if they're not doing that, then they're not likely to even talk in the first place.
Sure.
Jay, how often is this a problem?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just know that when I went through to fix this, more than 60% of the doc strings we had out there and drivers caused errors to be produced, which would fail the build.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was that, yes. So, I'm not just being anal. It was a problem to start out with. I spent like 3 weeks straight fixing stuff, so.
Then I'm assuming this prevents people from getting their fix first?
Correct. Yeah, so if they push this up without running docs, then the docs job will fail in Jenkins, and they'll get a -1 immediately. Now, obviously, you know, the errors are usually relatively obvious if you go in there and look. Sometimes not. I would probably go and, you know, if I see a review like that, given I've had enough experience with them, I try to provide some guidance. It's very sensitive to indentation and blank lines when you're creating a list, that kind of stuff. That's where you often get failures. So, but if everybody's okay with, hey, people are gonna occasionally push out patches that are just gonna fail because they didn't think to run the doc's job.
I think that's fine for now, personally.
Yeah, I think it'll be infrequent now.
Okay.
The risk of making it harder to run tough, not a good fail.
Okay. All right. Cool. So we won't make any changes there. So anyway, I appreciate everybody's attention to the documentation and helping out with it. I'm doing my best to keep it, the nitty-gritty stuff off your guys' plates, with what I'm working on there, but, you know, be attentive to it in reviews. And if you have changes that you would like to make to our documentation, please do so, and I appreciate the help with that. So.
Do you want to do something else or something like that?
Just submit the patches, I think. I don't know. That's actually a whole nother topic. We've been kind of bad about putting bugs up lately, but I don't know. It seems like just getting the patch out there and addressed is more important.
Kind of my take on it is, I think I'm mostly anti-bug unless it really is a bug that.
I mean, bugs are mostly useful if people are actually going to somehow live up there when they're trying to find information, or if you're planning on doing backwards.
Right.
Doing them just for everything.
Yeah. And for documentation, I definitely would say don't waste your time. Just push a patch. Point me at it. I'll look at it and get it in as soon as possible.
With our end users, they already have my links, so they will open up if someone's reading them.
Right. That's a good question. Thank you. Okay. Lunch. Be back at 1 o'clock-ish.
Not 1:30.
You want to extra 30 minutes? We got through the.
Since we got to the first season, and I don't do that. That would be really great. We're getting 1:30.
All right, everybody, here's that. Be back at 1:30.
I updated the.
Okay, thank you.